My name is Omar Toulan. I'm the current Dean of the MBA program here at IMD. I am also a professor of strategy and international management. Originally from the US, I spent much of my career also in Canada, but I've been now in Switzerland, here in Lausanne, for the past 8 years. AI is obviously something which is impacting not only corporations, but also education. And it is something which we took a relatively early approach towards starting at the end of 2023 with our first AI policy in terms of how should our students, our participants use and leverage AI. And I think what was quite innovative at the time is it was not a defensive approach. It was really one where we know people would be using AI in the workplace, and it's a disservice if we treat it as something to ban, which has been the case in certain educational institutions. But rather what we want to try to do is show students how to actually leverage it to make them more effective, but at the same time not outsource the decision-making to the AI. And so we've done this in several ways, both through a tool which we've developed for the program, which is effectively an IMD GPT for our MBA program, where participants can ask it questions based on or referencing what happened in the class yesterday or last week or last month, to basically serve in some ways as an MBA in your back pocket. We started this with the AI policy, which we launched in December of 2023. But really last year is when we stood back and said, what do we need to do in terms of training our participants, not only from a pedagogical tool, as I just described, but really from a content point of view and a skills point of view. And this inspired us to really look at the program from start to finish and actually do a redesign, which we just launched this past January. And this redesign really focuses on skills development. IMD has always been a place where we've been focusing on leadership skills as the core of our value proposition, and it still is. But the fact of the matter is, in order to be an effective leader, you also need critical, what we call transversal skills, which are, I think, even more relevant today in this AI-enhanced world. And these include things such as the ability to identify patterns, the ability to solve problems, the ability to make good decisions. And also, very importantly right now, the ability to ask good questions, be they from a prompt point of view or in a survey or in an interview. And then finally, also to be able to effectively present and communicate your decisions to the people that you need to buy into that choice. So that really has been the crux of the redesign which we've done. And along the way, we've been incorporating AI as what we call a sparring partner to help people make better decisions, but not replace the decision making. When it comes to using different GPTs, and first of all, there are very different GPTs with different personas. And so it is part of what we're also making sure the students understand is you have to understand what persona you're dealing with, because you will get very different responses from different GPTs. But the basic purpose we view of AI in this case from a leadership point of view is to help you in being a sparring partner. To help you make sure that you think of all the different potential options before making a decision, that you think of all the different criteria you need to assess those potential options. So we don't view it as an outsourcing of decision making by any means, but we do view it as a way to enhance and help you make better decisions, which at the end of the day, the way I view an effective leader is somebody who can make difficult decisions and then effectively communicate those. And so AI can definitely help us in that process. In the MBA, as I said, we have AI incorporated in different ways. On the one hand, we have it as a pedagogical tool, which will allow the students to basically, in some ways, have access to the content of their courses in a 24/7 manner. If they have additional questions, if they want to know, let's say, how this concept would apply to a different industry. Our GPT, while closed, because the way the GPT effectively works, I should probably explain, is we record all the class sessions, scrape all the personal information out of them. We input all the content, let's say reading content that is provided in the course, and then that is maintained in a closed environment. But at the same time, the GPT has access to the greater internet environment. So you could ask it, please explain to me the concept Professor Toulan talked about on Tuesday, but give me an example from the pharma industry instead. So on the one hand, it can be used as a pedagogical tool. On the other hand, we also have it obviously as a content. We have an AI course, which is part of our new module called Future Lab, which we'll be running actually in Singapore. We'll be taking the entire class to our Singapore campus for 1 month in June. And it's really focused on technology, and AI will obviously be one of the leading courses there. And at the same time, we kicked off the program with a 2-week module on these transversal skills, and throughout it was strung the importance of AI in helping you to develop these skills. So how do you make better problem assessments? How do you make better decisions? How do you even ask better questions? And again, to use AI as a sparring partner in that process. As part of this skills development focus on these 10 transversal skills we've developed, we are also leveraging different AI tools which we've developed ourselves based on rubrics for each of these different 10 skills. And so what we'll be able to do is over the course of the year, we will be able to give participants feedback based on the assignments that they submit, which the assignments will be graded by the professor as normal. But at the same time, we will take those individual assignments and pass them through our AI tool to give them feedback on how well structured was it? Did you consider a variety of different options? Did you provide quantitative as well as qualitative assessment? Did you ask good questions in the assignment? So this won't be grades, because the grades are still based on the courses, but these will be quarterly feedbacks that the students will receive on each of these 10 skills to give them an understanding of where do they stand and where do they need to improve. So it is also being used as a way to really personalize the feedback we give back. This is really the first year that we're particularly on the skills tracking. This is the first year we're launching that. So we will be giving the first set of feedbacks back to the students after the first quarter, so in the beginning of April. Right now, we have the assignments. We're working with the AI team to make sure that the output is designed in such a way that is easy for the participants to process, and we'll be giving that back in the beginning of April. And as for the GPT itself, this is something where we were training it this past year. So this is really the first year that participants will really be able to leverage it for their own coursework. So with more to come basically on those two. Obviously, there are certain technical elements which you have to make sure. Obviously, we all know about hallucinations from AIs, and so in this first round, we are also making sure that there's human evaluation and review of anything that comes out of the AI to make sure that that hallucination does not extend to any reports that we give back to the students. And so, there is that element which does require a bigger investment at the beginning than hopefully will be the case down the road, but is obviously essential to make sure that it works effectively. In terms of other challenges, I think we're fortunate at IMD that we have a faculty which is quite receptive to adopting new technologies and new approaches. I can imagine I used to be at more traditional universities in North America, where the professor is king or queen of the domain, and therefore asking to record the sessions or asking them to revise assignments so that they are AI enhanced could be a bit more of a challenge. So in that sense, I think we're in a somewhat privileged position with the relationship we have with the faculty in the program. I think it's still at the very early stage. And we did actually a sort of a test case with the program a couple of weeks ago, where we compared, and this was a class activity, the feedback that the students were giving each other in this conversation versus the feedback that the AI was giving to the person who was in this sort of mock situation. And the reality is that the human was still better. Now, the question is, the pace at which AI is advancing, will it be able to get close to providing that same type of feedback quickly? And I think, it will only get better. I don't see it getting any worse by any means. And therefore, I think there is potential in the future to leverage it as potentially a coaching tool. But again, we have to realize that different AIs have different personas, and so you will get different types of feedback depending on which AI you're using. It is important to be somewhat, I don't want to say hesitant, but critical and conscientious of the limitations. AI still has a challenge when it comes to creativity, right? And it's simply based off of what was done in the past. So at best case, you might be copying somebody else's strategy, or you might be copying what somebody else did. It can't yet come up with brand new ideas. And so if you are thinking about how to differentiate yourself, how to do something different, AI right now is not going to do that. On the other hand, for basic, give me industry background, give me the performance of these different firms in the industry, it's good at doing that, right? But this is where I think, the importance of management and creativity come into play, and also leadership. I have yet to see the AI inspire people, to get them to buy into an idea, to go along with it. We all know that many failures that take place in organizations are due to a lack of buy-in or lack of acceptance by the workforce of a certain direction. I don't think an AI is going to be convincing people anytime soon to do that. IMD is a place where, given that most of our efforts are focused around executive education, we're always in contact with corporations on a daily basis here. It isn't the sort of crystal palace in the sky. We are connected to what's happening constantly, and so we see what's happening in the corporations in terms of their challenges with AI, but at the same time the ones which are being successful at adopting it. And this is a place where we react very quickly. To just give you an example, when COVID hit, about, I'd say 80% of our participants or programs either require us to fly to someone or someone to fly to us. So when COVID hit, obviously that had a huge impact on IMD, but within 3 weeks, we were able to switch pretty much everything to Zoom, which today sounds second hat, but back then, teaching on Zoom was not common. And so the speed of reaction of this place, I'd say, is definitely one advantage that we have.